But it's interesting that the roots of Nike coincide with the creation of Title IX. So Nike was founded in 1972, and Title IX was also passed in 1972, which is, just ensuring that there's equality in both sport and education to both men and women. And back in 72, the number of women, and this primarily high school girls who were involved in organized sports, it was 1 in 27. Today, it's better than 1 in 2. So huge progress. And at that time, there were a few female athletes that really represented the face of Nike. Joan Benoit was certainly one of the earliest ones. She went on to win the first women's Olympic marathon race in 1984. So you think about that. 1984 is the first year that women were allowed to run the marathon in the Olympics, because before that, they didn't think women were physically capable of it. And look where we are today. So there are some early roots of Nike really standing up and saying, hey, we need rights, for access to sport for both men and women. So they were in the fight around Title IX from day one. Also, when it was challenged by the Bush administration, they wanted to reverse a lot of the progress that we had made, and it was money driven. And so Nike was back in the fight on that. So this was, 5, 6, 7 years ago. But the efforts to carve out the business space for women as athletes, and from a gender specificity perspective at Nike, that took a long time. And there were many different efforts. For a long time, it was, let's just shrink it and pink it. Let's take a men's product, let's make it smaller, give it a nice, pretty color, and call it, good. When I was asked to start up the women's footwear division initially, we were challenged every single day. Why do women's products have to be different from men? And this came primarily from the running division, because we carved out the women's running from the men's. So it dramatically decreased the size of their business, because now women's was running the women's business. And I found myself and other of my team members, we found ourselves for about a year trying to answer the question, why do women's products have to be different from men's? And it finally hit me, maybe I'm just slow, but I finally one day just said, woo way, that is the wrong question. And we reframed it and we said, how do we make product best for women athletes? Let's start with their physiology. Let's start with their biomechanics. Let's start with how they shop, what they like, what they do. And that noise kind of went away. And I think it really allowed us to finally look at women's sports and women as consumers for what they were, and not as a permutation of men.
Right. Which really goes back to, some of the sort of biblical, thought of Eve coming out of man. I mean, it's sort of breaking that, what am I trying to, I'm trying to think of the word, that, well, depending on your views, I mean, the mythology and or, the storytelling around the origin of woman.
Right.
And the creation story, that's what I was trying to think of. It breaks that original creation story and says, that women and men stand equally, different but equal, as opposed to one as a subset of the other.
Right.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing that has really come into an area of focus for me over the last couple of years since I left Nike is the study of archetypes and brand archetypes. And a gentleman that I've really learned a lot of this from, he's done some studies over the years on different brands, and also the work of Carol Pearson and Margaret Mark. And they typically characterize Nike's culture as that of either the hero or the ruler. And, there's some crossover there, but if you look at it through the hero lens and who some of the heroes of Nike are, I mean, it's very easy. It's the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods, like them or not. They are these hero figures, even the founders of the company. There are heroes within the company, the creators of the product. They are the ones that are revered. And then the ruler archetype is really about, control and sovereignty and commands. And if you look at all of Nike's artifacts, just do it. It is our nature to innovate. Do the right thing. They're all commands, and you don't question them. And so in the early days, and again, this is all in retrospect, in the early days of really trying to get the women's business up and running, then the sustainability movement, and then the third effort that I would include in that around diversity and inclusion, we were coming at it, and I'm generalizing here, but from a very different archetype, and that of the caregiver. And those two archetypes, the hero, the ruler, and the caregiver, are very, very different, and their language is often very incongruent. So once recognizing that, you can't change the fundamental archetype of the culture. It's pretty hardwired into it. But how do you start shifting the language around what it is you're trying to accomplish such that, they can literally hear what you're saying and look at it through a different lens. So it was just a fascinating time at Nike.
Wow. And, as I was listening to you talk, I was really thinking about, the sustainability movement almost seems, as you look at sort of these waves of innovation in industry, and you think of industrialization, you think of the machines, and you think of steam, and you think of the chemical and plastic, wave of 50, 60 years ago in the mid-century, and then technology in the last 30 years. And now it's really sustainability. It seems to me it's the McDonough-Bromgart kind of model of how can we retool everything to exist, on the planet in perfect design to the needs and waste management, et cetera. And so in thinking of that, it seems like these concepts of ensuring the health and wellness of our humanity and balance with the planet and making companies fit that is a feminine skill set. And so I guess I'm thinking, and you can agree or disagree with me, that maybe this sustainability as the current innovation wave is the first one that really does have a feminine face to it.
Yeah, it does, and it also provides one of the challenges. We too often enter into that conversation that we're destroying the planet. Yeah. We're destroying the oceans. We're destroying that whatever, and again, it's very incongruent with the business world. And so how we start to flip that or couch it in the terms of, if we looked at this aspect of our design, our process, our business model, these are the values that would accrue to us. We would save, an exponential amount of money. We would not be diverting anything to landfills or whatever. So you just have to flip the conversation, because they are still, for the most part, at the mercy of Wall Street. I applaud companies like Unilever. They just, announced that, hey, they're not looking at short-term gains, and that investors may need to, be a little bit wary, but we're looking 50 years out, 100 years out. What are our impacts? What are our services? What are we ultimately, what's our legacy in the world? And I think that's game-changing. Yeah. I think other companies like Patagonia and what Yvon Chouinard has done is pretty amazing. Granted, it's still a privately owned company, but he's really starting to answer the question, how big is big enough? Yeah. Whereas most companies are still, hey, we've got to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because that's what our stakeholders expect.